This is CBC Here and Now.
Pothole season, is it worse than ever before?
The volume of traffic, the quality of the asphalt, maybe even the quality of the bedding isn't what it was.
It's my time to move forward and to help lead the city into the future.
First out the gate, Councillor Danny Breen will put his name on the ballot to be Mayor of St. John's.
One of this province's longest-serving politicians passes away. Former MP and Senator Bill Rompkey is dead at the age of 80.
Yet another blast from Old Man Winter, first in the form of snow tonight into Thursday. The second will be the cold blast that follows it up into Friday. The details are coming up.
Well, it is that time of the year again.
Yes, drivers beware. Tire-popping, front-end damaging potholes are back.
And they're opening up on roads and highways right across the province.
And as Here and Now's Mark Quinn reports, one enormous crater claimed many victims in St. John's last night.
People in this province have never loved Team Gushue more, but the highway that bears the team's name is getting a very bad reputation. Last night, more than a dozen cars were badly damaged when they whacked this hole here on the Team Gushue Highway. Here's a better look at the hole that caused all the trouble, and here's some of the damage it did. Rims bent badly out of shape and tires destroyed. People who work in the car and truck business say this pothole season has been particularly bad.
The volume of traffic, the quality of the asphalt, maybe even the quality of the bedding isn't what it was before. I've been on the road since, again, the mid-80s. Never seen it like this, and the damage, of course, comes with it.
I just took off my clothes and put on my shorts and got into it.
It's an international problem. Ireland's Liam Keane scored a few minutes of online fame 4 years ago when he took a dip in a County Cork pothole. Keane told RTE that he did it for a laugh, but city officials in St. John's aren't laughing about the perennial problem here.
We'd love not to have it, and we're certainly searching for better ways to build the roads and trying to get the maximum benefit from the work that's done.
This time of year, many of the roads around the province are like obstacle courses. Slowing down and leaving space between yourself and the car in front of you are two ways to avoid some expensive repairs. Mark Quinn, CBC News, St. John's.
Now, late today, we heard from the Transportation Department about that huge pothole on Team Gushue Highway. Crews were repairing it today and will continue tonight. And they are also taking care of another one. That one is in Mount Pearl on the Ruth Avenue ramp.
Well, St. John's Councillor Danny Breen has confirmed he will run for mayor of the capital city. He's the first to announce his candidacy, but others have said they are considering a run for the job. Former Mayor Andy Wells has voiced an interest, and current Mayor Dennis O'Keefe has not ruled out another run. And coming up in about 20 minutes, Councillor Danny Breen will talk about why he wants to run for mayor.
To the UK now, where there is developing news tonight. The political centre of England's capital city was brought to a standstill today following an attack near the UK Parliament. At least 4 people are dead, including the attacker and a police officer. About 20 others were injured when a car plowed into pedestrians on the bridge leading to Westminster. Investigators say the driver then proceeded to stab a police officer outside Parliament. The House of Commons was in session at the time, and MPs were placed in lockdown. The assailant was shot by other officers. A motive has not yet been determined, but police say they are treating the incident as a terrorist attack. Amanda Maynard from St. John's is visiting London, and she took to Facebook to reassure friends and family she's fine.
Thank you, everyone who seems to be calling and messaging. We're nowhere near where the incident happened. So we're safe, and thank you, and we're staying out of any area like that, and we're just in the Camden market today.
Well, there appears to be more uncertainty surrounding the struggling oil refinery in Come By Chance. A report from the Reuters news agency yesterday quotes sources who say the owners are quietly trying to sell the facility. Now, this comes as the controversy continues to swirl over the recent slashing of more than 100 positions at North Atlantic Refining. Here and Now's Terry Roberts reports.
A group of former Wall Street oil traders bought the refinery more than 2 years ago, confident they could turn things around at the money-losing operation. Well, now sources say that weak profit margins and high regulatory costs have forced the new owners to look for a way out. North Atlantic Refining has invested more than $125 million into the facility and boosted daily production. But signs of trouble emerged in November when the company announced a workforce reduction of 128 positions. Reuters is reporting that the operation is floundering and that it may be difficult to find a buyer for 2 reasons. One, the refinery's remote location, and an ongoing legal dispute with an oil company. Refinery manager Dan Harris did not respond to interview requests, but one worker told CBC News last week that morale is very low.
I've not seen it worse in my nearly 20 years since I've been here. Watching some of our long-term employees go home last week was one of the hardest things I've seen since I've been here. It's we're as near the bottom as we can get right now.
It's the latest twist in a long history of uncertainty and ownership changes. The refinery opened to great fanfare in 1973, with then Premier Joey Smallwood calling it a momentous achievement.
It's the coming to Newfoundland of our first petrochemical industry, the first in our history.
But it closed just 3 years later and remained mothballed for a decade. It has changed hands multiple times since it reopened in 1986. For its part, the province is already assuming any environmental liabilities at the refinery. That was one of the conditions for the current owners to purchase the site. Now the question is, will that be enough to attract a new buyer to the facility? And what more can the province do to protect the nearly 500 jobs at the refinery? Terry Roberts, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, Natural Resources Minister Siobhan Coady tells us tonight that government has not been made aware of any plan to sell the refinery, but she says the company has improved the operation and has a good strategy in place for the future.
To Gander now, and to the woman who was inside this car before it went up in flames. Donna Snow is saying thank you to the man who shouted at her to get out. Snow was on her phone calling a tow truck and had no idea her vehicle was on fire. She says she knows she's lucky to be alive and is still rattled by what happened.
I get down a little bit, just thinking about my car and what I'm going to do without it, and how I'm going to get by, and my daughter's going to school and that, and she's going to have to start walking to school and stuff, and yeah, it's just hard.
Well, to Ottawa now, where the Trudeau government unveiled its second federal budget today. The new numbers are short on new spending and more of a continuation of policies from last year. Finance Minister Bill Morneau.
Over the last few decades, the middle class and those working hard to join it have fallen behind. Everyday folks who work hard to provide for their families are worried about the future.
This year's Liberal budget showed that the deficit is up by about $3 billion, and there will be deficits for the foreseeable future. The Liberals are concentrating on spending money on housing, childcare, and defense. It will cost more to buy alcohol, and they're getting rid of Canada Savings bonds and the public transit credit.
Newfoundland athletes are putting in impressive performances and winning medals at the Special Olympics World Winter Games in Austria. Floressa Harris of Gander is a double medal winner at the Games so far. She picked up a silver medal in the 200-meter F13 snowshoeing division yesterday and a bronze on Monday in the 100-meter race. Harris has a chance at another medal at the relay final tomorrow. Other medal winners from this province include Sandra Smith of Carboneer. She won gold in the 200-meter F21 event yesterday. And this girl, Crystal Young of Harbour Grace, won gold in the 5K snowshoeing race. After the break, we look at the political career of Bill Rompkey, who died last night.
John's here now with a look at the weather. So we have more snow on the way.
Yes, more snow, a messy start tomorrow, and it'll be a messy day right through the day, actually, in central and west. Blowing snow advisories in effect for the Avalon, the northeast coast to the northern peninsula, as well as the southwest parts of the island, Bay St. George and the Port aux Basques region. There is also a wind warning in effect for Port aux Basques, where northwesterlies will gust to 100 kilometers per hour for you folks tomorrow. Now, again, I think the metro region, the Avalon, generally in that 10 to 15 centimeter range before the transition to some freezing rain and, yes, finally over to a little bit of drizzle as well. We are going to be seeing some ice pellets in that mix as well. 10 to 15 centimeters from Bonavista Peninsula down through Clarenville towards the Burin and Conegra. And also looking at amounts anywhere from 5 to as much as 15 centimeters for the northern peninsula. For Corner Brook region, I think you'll likely be closer to that 15 centimeter range, a better chance of 15 to 20 down through the Bay St. George to Port aux Basques region, and the best chance of 20 to as much as 25 centimeters looks to be through the central parts of the island here from Grand Falls, Windsor through Gander to the Bay of Exploits, but could see a bit of freezing drizzle mixing in at times tomorrow, so that may keep amounts closer to that 15 centimeter range there. That's why there's such a wide gap in that forecast right now, with 15 to 25 possible through that central region. Now, as we take a look at this low, again, lots of moisture certainly to come here. It's just rolling up through the Maritimes for today. In terms of your timeline, note that the snow will spread in this evening. We're underway likely in that 10-11 p.m. time frame for St. John's, and that snow will come in at times heavy, especially for the Avalon and the northeast coast tonight. By 5 a.m., likely mixing with ice pellets across the metro region, and I think we're transitioning through freezing rain to rain and drizzle through that morning commute. So it is definitely going to be a messy one as that transition happens from south to north tomorrow morning, again through that morning commute time. There's your 7 a.m. snapshot. Temperatures near freezing with that transition from snow to ice pellets to freezing rain to rain in metro. Bit of freezing drizzle not out of the question for the Burin Peninsula tomorrow morning as well. It's snow and blow for central regions back towards the west coast as well, and just underway at this point for the Straits and the St. Anthony region, and a pretty quiet start to your Thursday across the rest of the Big Land. So let's pick things up 7 a.m. and watch your timeline here. Some gusts in that 50, 60, even 70 kilometer per hour range. We'll have some blowing snow a factor for the early going tomorrow, and then eventually that drizzle will knock things down a little bit, and blowing snow not as much of a factor for the Avalon, but it will continue to be a factor for central and back towards the west coast. We're looking at gusts here in the 60, 70, and as I mentioned, up to 100 kilometer per hour range for Port aux Basques, and that snow and blowing snow will continue through the day tomorrow. Note the shift from southeast to northwest through the day on Thursday, and that will have temperatures starting to fall, so we'll peak near freezing, but actually fall to the -3 to -4 range for western and central parts of Newfoundland through the day tomorrow, up to 4 on the plus side for St. John's with a sunny breaker 2, and Labrador again looking quiet but cool. But that cold air really starts to spill into the rest of Newfoundland as we work through Thursday night, and how about Friday? While there will be sunshine, it will be chilly, far chillier than where we should be this time of year. -6 to -7, we should be riding the freezing mark, and -6 to -8 in Labrador with some flurries rolling into Lab West. That system will then move into Newfoundland as we roll into Saturday with some light snow. We'll talk about this with your weekend setup and your 7-day trend coming up in just a few minutes.
Well, one of the province's most influential politicians died last night in Ottawa. Bill Rompkey was 80 years old. Rompkey represented this province for nearly 4 decades, a remarkable career as a member of Parliament and then as a member of the Canadian Senate. Bill Rompkey was first elected in 1972 as the Member of Parliament for Grand Falls, White Bay, Labrador, and then as the MP for the new riding of Labrador. In those 23 years, he never lost an election, winning 7 straight.
Bill Rompkey from Grand Falls, White Bay, Labrador, Newfoundland, who will be the Minister of National Revenue.
Rompkey held a number of cabinet positions in Pierre Trudeau's government, and then in 1995 he was appointed to the Canadian Senate.
Mr. Wells said what he said. He gave his answers. We all understood it. I have to say again that it's patronizing for you.
Usually understated, MP Rompkey could rise to the occasion like this heated exchange with the chair of the Meech Lake hearings defending Premier Clyde Wells. Well, someone who knew Bill Rompkey very well is Ed Roberts, former Lieutenant Governor and, of course, a longtime provincial Liberal cabinet minister and party leader. Mr. Roberts, first of all, our condolences. You two go back a long way.
Well, thank you, Debbie. We do, yeah. We go back 50 years. We were both much younger. My hair was darker, and Bill had all his in those days. No, he was as close a friend as I've ever had. His death was not a surprise. He'd been ill for a while. I think he died easily and comfortably, if that's a consolation. But yeah, it's a great loss.
What kind of a man was Bill Rompkey?
He was the most decent, honorable, honest political figure I've ever seen, and I've known an awful lot over the years, and believe me. I never heard an unkind word from Bill Rompkey about anybody. Political foe, political opponent, whatever. He always had a laugh, a smile. He saw the joy in anything. Passionate about his work, passionate about, particularly about Labrador, and I think he took great pride in being the first person ever to be elected as the Member of Parliament for Labrador, and equal pride years later when he became the first senator to be named from Labrador.
What do you think will be his political legacy? He was there 39 years.
39 years, yeah. I think his identification with Labrador and the decency and the integrity that he brought to his job. I mean, politics can be a very difficult, and we know that in this province only too well, I'm afraid. But Bill always had a smile. He always saw the good thing, and he always did the right thing. He wanted to make things better. He realized why he was in the House of Commons or in the Senate. It wasn't there for his own good. He was there to help and to do things. And he had a vision of this country. Bill was very much, he was born a Newfoundlander, grew up, went to Memorial, became Mr. Memorial as a graduate.
He wouldn't like you to be saying that.
We used to kid him about it. And then he became a passionate Canadian, as well as a Newfoundlander and Labradorian.
Ed Roberts, thank you so much for joining us, and I know you'll be reflecting on your friend over the next several days, and thanks once again.
Well, thank you for giving me the chance to be here.
Well, there has been a lot of speculation about who may run for mayor of St. John's in this September's election, but today we found out the first official candidate, Ward 1 Councillor Danny Breen, has thrown his hat in the ring, and he joins us now in the studio. So, Councillor Breen, first of all, why do you want to run for mayor?
Well, you know, I'm just finishing my second term on council. I've been involved in a lot of the major areas, and through chair of the Finance Committee, chair of Public Works Committee, involved with St. John Sports and Entertainment. So I think it's my time to move forward and to help lead the city into the future.
And what is your vision of St. John's in the future? What are your big goals to tackle if you became mayor?
Well, I think we have a lot of things that we need to deal with in the future. Certainly, being able to maintain the city services, the infrastructure in the city. And to be able to address some of the issues in terms of maintaining our heritage and our culture and all those recreation. There's a myriad of issues that we had to be prepared for.
And of course, the economy is a big deal. Things haven't been so great lately. We're hearing of a lot of businesses that are closing down. How do you tackle a problem as big as the economy?
Well, what you need to do is we need to look at different ways to grow the economy. And you know, the Briar last week was a prime example of sport tourism and how sport tourism can help us in our part of the tourism industry. You know, it's one of the fastest growing segments of the tourism industry in the country, and we think that we have a unique destination here that we can market for that. So there's some of the ways that we can help business.
And let's talk a little bit about your possible competition, because as we said, no one else has announced quite yet that they're going to be running for mayor, but we have heard some names. Of course, former Mayor Andy Wells has voiced some intention of considering running. What do you think about that possibility?
You know, I'm sure that he'll consider that and make his decision in due course.
What would do you think that there's an appetite for the public for a return to kind of that style of politics?
Well, you know, that's not a style of politics that I have, so I mean, my style is looking to the future, building consensus and having everybody working together and leading a team that's going to make St. John's the best possible place for us to live, work. So that's what my goal is, and I'm more of a collaborative person, and I like to think that everybody around us needs to do their part in moving the city forward.
And what about Mayor Dennis O'Keefe? Have you heard anything about his intentions yet?
No, Mayor O'Keefe has indicated to me that he hasn't made his decision yet, but I certainly spoke to him before I made my announcement. I have a lot of respect for Dennis, and we've had a good working relationship. So he will make that announcement, I'm sure, in the future.
How did that conversation go?
It was good. We always have a good conversation.
Mm-hmm. All right. Councillor Danny Breen, thank you so much for coming in the studio.
Thank you, Carolyn.
Welcome back, and now back to the federal budget and what the Liberal government here thinks of it.
Yes, Finance Minister Cathy Bennett answered that question a short time ago when she met with reporters at the House of Assembly.
Well, we're certainly pleased that the federal government is continuing its commitment to infrastructure spending. We announced our infrastructure plan on Friday, 5-year, multi-year infrastructure plan. It's going to create 4,900 person years every year, and we're pretty pleased that the federal government's maintained its commitment to that. We've also seen a positive investment in child care spaces, which we think will be very helpful for particularly our province, as well as in recognition that under the the caregiver tax credit, we have a lot of individuals in our province who are providing care to large, individuals, elderly people in our community, and it's interesting and positive to see that tax credit.
Well, there's another curling championship for the province tonight.
And no, it's not the Brad Guzhu team. The Memorial University Seahawks team won the National U Sports Men's Curling Championship less than 2 hours ago.
Yeah, way to go. The team of Adam Boland, Stephen Trickett, Zach Young, and Evan Kearley defeated the University of Alberta 8-4. The Seahawks finished the season with a perfect 17-0 record.
Wow, they're expected to possibly represent Newfoundland and Labrador in next year's Brier. Now that Team Guzhu will be in the tournament as Team Canada.
Oh, congratulations. Okay, quick recap on your weather again for tomorrow. It's a mix over to ice pellets, freezing rain, and rain early on Thursday morning for Metro, then over to 4 degrees with even a sunbreak. But the snow and blow continues all day for central and western parts of Newfoundland. And a quick look at that 7-day trend shows a lot of negative temperatures below zero and far colder than what we should be for both Friday and Sunday, with a little bit of snow in between. Some signs of a little more spring-like temperatures as we move towards mid next week. And Labrador, again, very chilly, even for your standards this time of year, well into the minus teens through the weekend, recovering as we roll into mid next week.
All right, time to get the shovel out again, I suppose.
I was thinking we were going to see a picture, but I guess not. We'll just have to conjure up some of those gorgeous images that we're always
Think
seeing.
ahead to you shoveling in the morning.
Yeah, that's not an image I like. Good night, everyone. See you tomorrow. Full hour tomorrow.